This case is going to be very emotional, so at any point you find yourself getting a little overwhelmed, please step out of the courtroom, compose yourself, and then come back inside.
The conduct was horrendous, inhumane, and nothing short of evil.
He showed up to school with broken ribs, missing teeth, a shattered spirit, and still, no one came. He wrote a note asking if it's normal to bleed so much. Days later, he was dead. This is episode 1 of The System Failed, a Crime Curve series about what happens when those sworn to protect look away. This is the story of Gabriel Fernandez. When first responders stepped into the small Palmdale, California apartment in May 2013, they weren't prepared. What they saw broke them. Seasoned paramedics, hardened by years of trauma, wept in the hallway. Inside, a child's lifeless body was laid on the floor. Naked, tortured, unmoving. His skin was bruised, burned, and bleeding. BB gun pellets were embedded beneath the surface of his skin. His skull was fractured. His teeth had been knocked out. His lungs were collapsing. This wasn't a sudden outburst of rage. This was a slow, methodical campaign to destroy a child. Gabriel Fernandez was 8 years old, and for 8 months, everyone failed him. Before the headlines, before the outrage, before the trial that shook a city, there was just Gabriel, a quiet boy with long eyelashes and wide brown eyes. He brought extra snacks to school to share with classmates who didn't have any. He just wanted to be kind. He just wanted to belong. He was born February 20, 2005, to Pearl Fernandez, who didn't want him. Within days of giving birth, she left him at the hospital. Drugs, violence, chaos. She vanished. Gabriel was raised instead by his great-uncle Michael and Michael's partner David. They gave him warmth. They gave him structure. They gave him birthdays with candles and Halloween costumes and love. He laughed. He thrived. He felt safe. But in 2012, Pearl reappeared and demanded custody. Why? Because more kids meant more government assistance. Despite her long history of abuse, addiction, and instability, social services agreed. The court approved, and Gabriel cried. He begged not to go. No one listened. Within weeks of living with Pearl and her boyfriend, Isoro Aguirre, Gabriel changed. He stopped smiling. He stopped speaking. They starved him, beat him with bats and belts, forced him to eat spoiled meat and cat litter, locked him in a cabinet, bound at the wrists and ankles. He slept there, in the dark, alone. They mocked him, called him gay, punished him for playing with dolls, punished him for smiling. But Gabriel still tried to ask for help. In whispers, he asked his teacher, "Is it normal to bleed from your butt? My mom says I should die. Is it normal for a mom to hit you with a belt buckle?" He had burns, black eyes, bald patches from where his hair had been ripped out.
This was the case that just has followed me from that night.
It's still hard to believe 2 people did all those horrible things to him.
Gabriel Fernandez was, at the time of his death, 8 years old.
That was my friend, and it really caught me because it was his parent who took his life.
Jennifer Garcia, his teacher, sounded the alarm again and again. She reported every injury. She wrote up every concern. She called Child Protective Services. She begged them to do something. Social workers came. Deputies checked in. Paperwork was filed. Boxes were ticked. And Gabriel was always sent back. They marked him quiet but healthy. No immediate danger. Case was unsubstantiated. But the danger was immediate. It was every day. Gabriel kept pleading with teachers, counselors, nurses, classmates, and every warning was documented, then ignored. Michael Fernandez, who had raised Gabriel for years, fought to get him back. He called. He wrote letters. He sent photos. He begged. But he wasn't the biological father. He had no rights. All he could do was wait and watch his boy disappear. 8 months passed. When paramedics returned to that apartment, it was already too late. BB pellets were lodged in Gabriel's groin and lungs. His ribs were broken, his skull shattered. The trauma was irreversible. Gabriel had once said he wanted to be a police officer. Now he was a statistic. Over 60 reports had been filed, yet he was never removed. This wasn't slipping through the cracks. He was shoved through them. Jennifer Garcia warned, "He's going to die." She told the school. They brushed her off. Inside that apartment, Pearl and Isoro built a torture chamber. They made Gabriel wear girls' clothes, eat trash, and sleep bound in a cupboard. Isoro, 270 pounds, punched Gabriel full force for leaving the toy out. He pepper sprayed his genitals, knocked out his teeth.
The repeated beatings, burning, starving, binding, shooting Gabriel with BBs that were embedded in different parts of his body, knocking his teeth out with a bat, locking him in a dark cabinet while he's bound, and starving this poor child. It is unimaginable.
Gabriel's siblings, Virginia, 10, and Ezekiel, 12, were mostly spared. Only Gabriel was the target.
Well, guys, look, let's be honest here. Gabriel Fernandez's murder was one of the most horrific cases of child torture really this country has ever seen.
Ezekiel later testified they hated Gabriel because they believed he was gay. He once tried to untie Gabriel. He was caught, threatened, and silenced. Two social workers, Patricia Clement and Stephanie Rodriguez, were assigned to this case. They falsified notes, copied and pasted old entries, skipped visits, marked child appears unremarkable, and closed the file. In March 2013, deputies were called to the home after Gabriel wrote a suicide note. They spoke to Pearl on the porch for 10 minutes and left. No search, no report. On his final night, Isoro beat Gabriel with a bat for not cleaning fast enough. Gabriel lay unconscious for hours before they called 911. Paramedics said it was the worst case of child abuse they had ever seen. This was torture, one whispered. Gabriel didn't die because no one knew. He died because no one cared enough to act. One social worker, one deputy, one administrator doing their job would have saved him. 4 DCFS workers were charged, which was a historic move, but the charges were dropped in 2020. No prison, no accountability. The deputy who ignored Gabriel was promoted. School officials never questioned. Policies were reviewed. Lessons were learned, but nothing changed. Gabriel should have turned 19 this year. He should have been texting friends, asking for a later curfew, living. Instead, there's a gravestone with a cartoon police badge, a cruel symbol of the protector he wanted to become. The signs were everywhere, blinding, flashing, urgent. But every system, family court, law enforcement, education, healthcare, looked away. They passed the file. They passed the child. Each agency had a thick manual. Every rule became a loophole. Phone calls, forms, voicemails, closed cases, no urgency. Budget cuts made social work triage. Stabilize, don't remove was the mantra. Removing a child meant overtime, court filings, finding a foster bed that didn't exist. Unless the child was pulseless, a pamphlet would do. Neighbors heard the sounds. They didn't call, afraid of retaliation. Michael Fernandez kept sending photos of Gabriel in his Spider-Man costume, hoping someone, anyone, might care. They came back stamped. Envelopes came back returned to sender. In court, jurors were shown autopsy photos so graphic they had to step out. Forensics counted 13 broken ribs, healing at different stages. He was dismantled, one said. The jury deliberated for 8 hours. Isoro Aguirre was sentenced to death. Pearl Fernandez, life without parole. But real reform died in silence. Fired social workers fought to keep their pensions and won. Luck County paid Gabriel's siblings $32 million. A silent admission. Paid by taxpayers, not the guilty. Virginia and Ezekiel entered therapy. They lived with the guilt. Ezequiel now studies criminal justice, stating, "I want to be the officer who knocks twice." Jennifer Garcia, the teacher who tried to save him, left teaching for 3 years. She still dreams of cupboard doors. She keeps Gabriel's picture on her desk, a vow to never look away. Still, in LA County, a child abuse hotline rings every 2 minutes, and a worker has seconds to decide. Is this call noise? Or is it another Gabriel? One wrong choice, one missed visit, and another child disappears. In 2013, LA County recorded 165,000 abuse reports. Less than 5% resulted in removal. A foster placement costs $28,000 a year. A funeral for a child costs $7,500. When budgets dictate care, children become line items. Experts agree it takes early intervention, smaller caseloads, and community accountability. Gabriel had none of those. His case bounced between 8 workers. No one owned his safety. Teachers had no power beyond hotline calls. Deputies didn't coordinate with DCFS. Hospitals had no reporting triggers. Some counties now use red flag teams, multi-agency squads that meet after repeat injuries. The result? More kids are protected. Repeat injuries cut in half.
Pat, the judge told that couple that he hopes that they wake up at night and are tortured by thoughts of what they've done to this young boy. This is a case that has really touched so many because of the sheer brutality of the torture and abuse of this young boy by the 2 people who should have been taking care of him.
This isn't rocket science. It's willpower. But will the outrage last long enough to turn into real change? History says no, and children can't wait. So keep watching. Keep asking questions. Hold every receipt. Don't let Gabriel become a forgotten name in a forgotten file. This was episode 1 of the System Failed Stories that should have ended differently. If you're angry, good. That means you're still human. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to continue with the System Failed series and check out the Vanished series also. You won't believe the stories of missing people. The next case is already waiting. We'll see you next Thursday.